Okay, we are back and I have learned new things. And for now, we will talk about architectural structure because um, I was too shallow when I talk about it in the beginning. Now, system architectural structure is pretty much how we are code base. This is architectural structure. How we how we structure our code base. Example with this is in this project we will use monolith, MVC, and layer because we will be using Laravel. And Laravel already have followed this architecture. But why is this even important to know? This is important because we can have a structure that we need to follow at the very beginning of the project. What I mean by that is, let's say we use an authentication or an authorization in the system. Now, we can do that in different ways. We can manually create our own authorization system, or we can use a library like Spipey. I think that's what it's called. It's pretty much also a permission or authorization system in Laravel that we can just install. And there are also policies that will let's not talk about, but that is pretty much architectural structure. We need to think about this because this can affect scaling, maintenance, and how manageable it is it. I don't know how to spell it. Shit. Okay, system architecture affects this thing because imagine we created a system where everything is everywhere. Like we have controllers, we have library controllers, we have almost everything is everywhere. Let's say a system needs a service, then we can just use Laravel service for that, but we can also do a custom one. Just know that when we are talking about this, we are talking about the code base. How is it managed? How is it controlled? Let's say in coding, when we are doing a try catch or catching a problem, we usually do it in try catch or in log session. In try catch, that is for the user to know what is the problem or that they did something that is considered wrong. Then in the log, that is for us developers. And now we need to think about how should we store that? How is that supposed to be stored or treated in the system? Because how do I say this? Because if we just store that in the system itself, always, then that will create a problem. Yes, it will create a problem like log leaks. I think it was called. It's pretty much when your logs takes too much storage that it actually affects the processing of the system. We actually have solution for that where we would once the log has reached a certain storage point, it will be cut and a new storage will be created and a version and timeline of it happening. And the old logs can either be transferred to a server like AWS files or it could be deleted. That's the thing. We need to think about that. Also, and I kinda specifically talking about this because right now I'm experiencing problem with scaling of my deployed system where the activity logs is kind of messing with everything because activity logs is being repeated all throughout controllers, and that's bad. I know I can just use observer for that, but I cannot really rely on that because it is too simple and does not meet my requirements for complex activity logs. So that's also need to be considered. Pretty much when we think about this thing, we think about how should we make the system, how should we make it scalable, how should we structure the code, where files should live, what are, should we use MVC or not, because maintenance, let's say something gone wrong, a bug happened in deployment. Now, how are you supposed to search that if it's everything is everywhere? The authorization is everywhere. We have different authorization from routes, from UI, from controllers. You have different authorization. One uses uh, big yes, yes, they're using different because I can really explain this because it is in my code base. Let's just imagine that you have different things for the exact same thing. Then that would be hard to manage because let's say the client suddenly say, okay, I want to remove this add product part for this user or role. Then what you have to do is if you have a custom one and have different authorization like I do, then you have to manually go to everything that has that authorization in the sidebar, in the UI, in the deletes, in the updates, in the controllers, and in the routes. And that's too much. It would be better if we have something or we already defined an authorization before we actually make the system. So that hey, we get it's like a documentation. It's like planning how should we document things, how things should be put. That is this. I'm just stressing this because right now I'm kind of pissed off about my current deployed system, and I'm actually planning to fix that. And right now I'm gonna make this thing better, but I don't really know. But I think I will just start doing it now. First, we will identify what we actually need for this system. Like, what will it do? Let's first do the security. No, this cannot be made because we need to have the DFD for this. Because that will help us know what is vulnerable or not. Right now, we can only do this thing, MBC, but that's pre-made in Laravel, so we don't even need to do that. We could also consider repeated things. Let's say in the system, I know there will be repeated reads, updates, deletes, and I'm thinking, what if we just do something like inheritance? Inheritance is when, or class inheritance. Class inheritance is when we create a class. Let's say a class, and this class do delete, update and create. Now let's say it does this thing. Now what we can do, let's say in subjects, we can just extend, extend class. What this does is that this function of edit, update, create can be used by subjects. So we can eliminate the repetition. And this can be done by for all of them. Let's say not only do we have subject, we also have departments, classes, all of them. As long as we put this, extends class, all of them can use this thing. Okay, so that's one. That's actually a good one. And what about backups? Um, this kind of thing is when you are doing this, we also need to consider backups, of course, as I said before, in logs. How will we handle them? Like backups. Let me, where am I gonna put this shit? Backups and then logs. Now, how are we gonna treat this thing? We also need to know what kind of backup. This could be a database backup or a file backup or a system backup. I mean, we have a lot of solution here. But let's say we have a file. I don't really know what kind of file to back up, but I know logs should be backed up. But I think what I will do is just once this thing reach wait, once once log reach a certain point, let's say 300 MB, then this thing will be stop using it. We will stop using it and create stop using then create a new one, new with versioning. So it would be like Beetle, something like this. And then this thing, since we stop using this thing, we can either just keep it in the system and after after like after 6 months we delete we delete that's it. And the backups would be, let's say we are hosting in Hostinger and backups is already done there. So let's just copy this thing. Then we can rely rely on Hostinger. Not to backup. This thing I still don't know, so I will not talk about. And also we need to talk about processing. Processing is processing. Processing in this case is like how well the system is actually made. Let's say there is no entry. There is no entry. I mean no n plus one, like no random queries, no random functions. Pretty much something processing is when we decide how the system should look and do things. Of course, this thing can change, so I actually do not need to make this right now because it can change in the future. because we cannot really decide right now how the query should look, how the data should be processed and everything. We can do that. We can make a small processing gauge once we have the FDV. But we don't really have that right now, so I will just leave it. Just treat this as something you need to think about. And the scale has been talked about with an example. So I will just leave that. For now, this I think this is all for now because this is all what I have learned in system architecture, and I don't think I can add anymore. I will probably add as I go when I'm in development, but I think this is good enough.